Don't be afraid to get a bit wild in the kitchen. You can use any leafy green you like maybe this earthy and delicious chard in today's dish, my Wild Green Spanakopita with homemade Tzatziki. I'm Chef Heidi Fink, and that's what we're cooking on the coast. Welcome! Today we are setting our course for the Mediterranean. We'll be exploring one of the culinary gems of Greek cuisine, Spanakopita. We're making my version, which I call Wild Green Spanakopita, served with Tzatziki the same way, but it has lots of green vegetables in it, not just spinach. It's delicious, great for company or for a special family meal. Let's get started. So what I want to do first is deal with the greens. So of course we're going to put spinach in it, but we are also going to put some kale. So I usually do about 50% spinach and 50% some other type of green vegetable by weight. So right now I have, the total amount I'm going to use for this recipe is just over half a pound of spinach and about half a pound of kale. So I'm only doing some of it right now just to show you. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start steaming the kale first. So I've got a little bit of water in there and I'm gonna just throw the kale in and we're gonna start steaming the kale. You wanna make sure the kale gets really nice and tender, so you don't wanna rush that process. So while that kale is steaming, we're gonna work on my next secret to this recipe, which is the leek. So one of the things you'll find when you're seeing recipes for leeks, they often say only use the white part or the white and light green part, but that means you're wasting half the leek, so I'm gonna show you what I do. What I do is I use this entire part up to where the leaf first splits, like that. Then I remove some of these outer leaves, and then there's still a tender part inside here that you can use that's super delicious, but I'll just get rid of those. And then the other thing, you wanna just slice the leek downward because sometimes dirt can harbor inside the leek, so I'm gonna give those a rinse and I'll be right back. And then what we do is we just slice it up. So I'm using 4 cups of leeks, so that is a lot. So it ends up making up quite a bit of the volume, so it's almost like Spanakopita, leek pita. I don't know what the Greek word is for leek, but it's almost half leek as well. So we're heating this pan up and we're gonna put some butter in there. You can use olive oil if you want, for sure. But we're gonna do about a 1/4 cup, let's say, of butter. We're just gonna make sure the butter is nice and melted before we put the leek in. You wanna make sure it's really nice and hot. And then we're gonna saute the leeks only for a couple minutes, just till they're softened. So leeks don't take that much time to cook. They only take, a few minutes. You don't wanna brown them or burn them. Okay, here we go. Leeks are going in. So it seems like a lot, but it's gonna shrink down to probably half that amount. Just make sure you stir it up so that it gets completely coated with the butter. Sometimes, and you can add a little salt to that because that sometimes helps the leeks to soften as they're cooking. So, just a pinch of salt in there. I can't wait to try this later because it's one of my absolute favorite dishes. So the kale is close to ready. It's still nice and green, but it's getting softer, you can see. So now we're gonna put in the spinach. I don't need all this. I already have quite a bit of spinach steamed. So you can do the spinach and kale separately, or you can do them together like this. So I'm gonna put the lid back on and just let that steam for like another 30 seconds or so. So I just love leeks. I could eat them all day. Let's grab our spinach because I think it's ready. I'm just gonna grab a tray to pull it out onto. So you can see I have some spinach and kale that I steamed earlier. Here we go. It's okay if they're mixed. I did them separately because I was doing a larger amount and it was kind of hard to fit them in the pot. So you just want to pull these out. Don't dump it out with all this water because we're trying to get all the water out, as much water out as possible, otherwise it can make your pastry soggy. So I'll just put this in the sink. These leeks are pretty close to being ready. You can see already, I've only had them on here for about 2 minutes, but you can see already the volume is reduced by about half. That's a good sign that we're pretty close. They're also feeling soft, looking soft. They smell delicious. We've got some fresh dill, which I'll put in after I pull the leeks off the heat, but I've got some chopped fresh oregano and some chopped fresh thyme. And I like to add those to the leeks while they're still sauteing to really help bloom those flavors and release the flavors. So we're gonna put those in, and it's just gonna smell divine in here. So once that has sauteed and the herbs have released their scent, we're gonna put this in this bowl. There we go. I'm gonna put the dill in a minute once this is cooled down. So the next thing we have to do is squeeze these greens. And just so you know, you can make this filling several days in advance. So when you wanna squeeze, you wanna just squeeze that. This is very satisfying, I have to say. You wanna squeeze that and just try to get out as much of this liquid as you possibly can. And if you really wanted to, you could save this, you put it in a soup or something, but it's not necessary. We're gonna have so many greens in here, it's okay that we lost a bit. So squeeze it out because any liquid that's left in the greens can really impact the texture in the end. So you can see how much liquid has come off. I mean, it's like probably half a cup or a cup. That's quite a bit, and that would really get soggy inside of the phyllo pastry. So let's just dump that in the sink. I just rinsed my hands. Okay. Now, what we're gonna do here is, I'll put this right there. What we're gonna do here is we are going to cut this up very small. So you don't wanna have big, giant pieces of spinach or kale coming out of this pastry. It's really hard to eat, and it doesn't blend well with the cheese. Spanakopita is a really great dish. So normally it's served as an appetizer, but you can serve it as a main dish. It makes an excellent vegetarian main. For side dishes, I've done everything from like souvlaki to lemon pepper chicken to Greek salad, whatever you like. So we've got most of our spinach and stuff in there. I'm gonna stir that up. Okay, I've mixed that, so now we've got a 1/4 cup of fresh dill chopped, which is very delicious. And then we need cheese. I have some Macedonian feta right here, which is like super creamy. And I also have here some cottage cheese. One thing about cottage cheese is you want to try as much as you can to get out the liquid. Here we go. And then some Macedonian feta. I'm just gonna put some gloves on to crumble this feta otherwise, which will be great. Okay, Macedonian feta, are you ready? Check out how creamy that is compared to standard feta. Now you could absolutely use any type of feta you like. And then the last thing we need is 2 eggs. And then I'm gonna mix everything by hand. That's why I kept my gloves on. Okay, here we go. So the eggs help bind the filling, also adds a little protein. So we're gonna mix this until it's really, really well mixed. All right, let's take our gloves off. I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper, which I should have done before I did my gloves, but I don't always remember everything. Salt and pepper, and that's that. So later on the show, I'm gonna show you 2 different ways to roll this with phyllo pastry into Spanakopita, but stick around, after the break, we're on the road.
Cooking on the Road is brought to you by Whisk Victoria, the small but mighty kitchen gadget store for every home chef.
Here I am at Bake My Day gluten-free bakery in Duncan, and I'm here with owner and baker extraordinaire, Dale Norton. Thank you so much for having me.
So nice to meet you, so nice to have you here to show you what we do here. 2013, we started doing markets not with gluten-free, and there was such a demand for gluten-free.
Okay.
I figured, how hard could it be? It proved to be harder than I thought, but we had to come up with a flour mix first because the flours that were available at that time were just not very good.
Yeah.
Everything we do is based on pastry. Your cornstarch is a lightening thing, your potato starch is a bit stickier.
Right.
So those things all combined together give you a really nice balanced flour.
And then these frozen goods are also available?
Everything is available.
I would love to see how this works.
Wonderful. I'll show you how to do the sausage rolls.
Oh my goodness, okay, I'm so excited. So we've got this perfect sheet of puff pastry.
So we've got make sure that it's nice and straight.
Okay.
And Al's gonna cut it down. It gives us nice clean edges. And then Al will come down with the sausage machine and he'll actually pipe the sausage meat onto the sheets of pastry.
Okay, this is pretty cool. I love it. Are you gonna put me to the test, see if I can roll?
I am. I'm
Okay.
gonna see how you do with this.
Okay, the pressure's on.
So I take the pastry up, I fold it over so it makes contact with the meat, and then I'm gonna run both hands along it and flip it over. Then I just go back and light pressure on it so it's making contact everywhere.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna roll it over.
Okay, pressure's on.
Roll with two hands. So you've got one hand going here and this one's just
Holding
applying
it.
pressure.
Okay, okay.
There you go. It's got that pliability.
Look at that, little sausage rolls.
So these will go straight onto trays into the freezer. We open freeze them.
And
then we'll come back and we'll package them and
Once they're frozen.
Once they're frozen.
Well, would you mind baking some for me to try?
Absolutely we can.
Excellent, excellent.
And we're going to do some chicken pot pies, which we've got all ready to go.
Awesome, I can't wait.
So here we go here. Alan is busy filling the bases with the depositor.
This is so cool.
And then we're going to put the pre-cut
The
bit on top.
Okay, and it's got a really cute little chicken.
There's a chicken cut into the top. So Britt's going to just place them on top, and then she's going to use this press on the top so that we crimp it down in one movement rather than trying to fork it around, and then we've got an even looking pie.
Okay. Looks good. Look at how flaky that pastry is. And this is dairy-free?
This is all completely dairy-free.
Wow. I would never have guessed. It's so creamy and flaky and delicious. Wow.
Let's do the sausage rolls.
So flaky. Delicious.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for showing me your facility, how you do everything, the snacks.
It's been a pleasure. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Welcome back to the kitchen. We are making my wild green Spanakopita with Tzatziki. The next thing we have to do is actually roll the Spanakopita in the phyllo pastry. So I'm going to talk about how to do that. So for this, we need something called phyllo pastry. You can buy it in the freezer section of any supermarket. And it is very thinly rolled out sheets of pastry that make a very flaky, delicious result. You can also make it yourself, but that is a whole other episode. So you don't want to open this before you're ready to use it because it can dry out really quickly. So you can see, look at this beautiful phyllo. You're going to lay it out on your counter. So you can see how very thin and delicate this is, right? So next, what we have to do is you're going to pull up two sheets. And if it's kind of broken, this happens a lot, don't worry about it because you're going to roll it up, but put the broken end towards you because that's going to end up inside the pastry. Next, we have to rub, or brush, I guess, not rub. We have to brush it with some melted butter. So you're just gonna make sure you have a nice, generous layer of butter because if you don't have any butter on here, then the pastry is like really, really dry. And then we're gonna get another 2 layers. Just be very careful. Okay, sometimes they stick together, you gotta be gentle. Okay, again, well, in this second section, it doesn't matter if the kind of rough side is towards you or away from you, so you could put it away from you this time so you don't have the same hole in the same spot, so you're kind of patching it up. You're gonna brush that with more melted butter or olive oil. So I've got 4 layers here. We're gonna cut this into thirds. You could also cut it into halves. Be very careful. Just eyeball it. Now, the next thing is making sure you don't put too much filling, okay? That thing I see happen a lot is people overstuffing and then it's gonna explode out the side. So more pastry, less filling. So this is, I don't know, maybe 3 tablespoons or something? Okay, now, watch this. You're gonna imagine this is a triangle. Okay, you're gonna fold this side of the triangle up to that corner, and then you're gonna follow the open edge the whole way along. There we go. So just keep rolling it up like that. I'm gonna put it on a parchment lined baking sheet, and we're gonna roll that up like so. On there. And then the most important thing at the very end is we're gonna brush the tops of these little phyllo triangles with some butter so that the tops don't dry out. So here you go. Brush, brush, brush. Make sure you get all the sides and then it's like really creamy and buttery. Okay, those are ready to go in the oven. Now the other thing I wanted to show you is the pie method. Now this is a great method if you end up with a lot of pastry that's like really crumbly, because it works really well in a pie. It's harder to roll up into triangles, but it's easy to kind of just patch it all up in a pie shape like this. So here we are gonna do multiple layers, and you wanna make sure that you put them sort of crosswise from each other so you have a lot of overhang, and then brush it. So you wanna have 4 or 5 layers on the bottom. Okay, hang on a second. Let me just get one more. And see how I put this one in a different direction than the last two. There we go. So I'm gonna put a nice layer of this delicious spinach and leek and cheese filling right here. Okay. Then we're gonna layer on some more. So we're gonna just lay a few pieces on, and we're gonna brush them with butter again, like we did last time. You could also make this into a bigger pan, like a lasagna pan or something. Then we're gonna, and you can see the filling recipe that I have makes a lot. Like you could obviously make a bigger one, because I had enough to make this whole Spanakopita plus some little ones over there. Okay, there we go. Now we're gonna put 1 or 2 on the top, and then we're gonna fold it all over. So you want lots and lots on the top, because that gives us a nice flaky layers on the top. So it's okay if it kind of looks crunkly, that is part of the charm. And then just make sure, once again, lots of butter. And then you can bake it like this, but one thing that's actually quite helpful is if you pre-cut it. So similar to if you ever make baklava, it's always suggested to pre-cut the pastry. I'm just gonna drizzle like a little more butter on here, and then we're gonna throw these in the oven. All right, there we go. We're gonna put these in the oven. 400 degrees, you wanna bake these at 400 degrees, and I'm gonna put these ones on the top. So the little ones will take about 25 minutes to cook. The big one might take up to an hour. I do have some already made. Let's pull those out of the oven. Look at that, look at these delicious, they puff up, they get golden brown, they smell amazing. I'm gonna put these over here. And here is the pie I made earlier. It looks so good. The thing we're gonna make to go with this is tzatziki. This is a Greek yogurt dip with mint, cucumber, garlic, a little bit of lemon juice. You can add other herbs, but mint is usually the mainstay. I have about 1.5 cups of Greek yogurt, and I've got half of a cucumber minced up, and then I have about 1/4 cup of chopped fresh mint, 1 clove of garlic pureed. Then we need some salt. Okay, then we need about 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And then I always like to add a little bit of olive oil just to add a little creaminess and richness. It really helps the flavors to carry with the mint and everything. Ideally, you would make this ahead of time. It's really good if you can make it even a day ahead, because then the flavors really meld. So it's perfect, it's kind of tangy, zingy. It's perfect with this sort of richer, creamier pie. All right, let's get this plated. So I'm gonna put one of each on this plate because I think that would be nice. There we go, look at that. It's so good. It looks kind of like this flaky, layery spinach lasagna type thing. Cross between a spinach pie and a lasagna. There we go. So the little bits of yellow that you can see in there are actually the leek. Okay, and then let's put a little bit of the roasted veggies on here, and then give everyone a dollop of tzatziki, and we'll be ready. And then of course we're gonna put a little bit of parsley. All right, there you have it. Delicious wild green Spanakopita with tzatziki.
Pairings are brought to you by Liquor Plus. Discover the plus.
A delicious recipe deserves a delicious pairing. We've got this Spanakopita with tzatziki. To help us today is Russell Steffen from Phillips Brewery. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, I'm glad you're here. Are you gonna help us out? I know we've got the tzatziki's kind of lemony and garlicky, and then the pie's buttery.
Absolutely. So what we're going to showcase today is Reverb, which is a brand new West Coast IPA for us. I mean, West Coast IPAs are always kind of on the bitter side,
Yeah.
But they have a lot of citrus notes to them.
Yeah.
So I thought that would pair really well with the lemon.
Yeah.
And then one of the things I'm excited about is with this West Coast IPA, it's kind of like more of a modern West Coast IPA, which means we've got some kind of rice and corn in the grain bill, which kind of lightens up the body and makes it really crispy. And you know, phyllo pastry and Spanakopita is really nice and crisp, and so I thought that would lend like a nice
that sounds amazing.
play as well. So why don't we get into it?
Okay, yeah, let's please do. I love the cans, by the way. They're looking pretty good.
Yeah, beautiful artwork.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like my dream camping spot right there, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You bet. So again, you'll notice some really kind of citrusy, piney notes,
Okay.
some nice bitterness. The other nice thing about bitterness is it can really kind of cut through the richness in food like this.
There's a lot of butter in here, let me tell you. All right, I'm gonna try it first. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's quite different. It's got the bitterness of an IPA, but there's some like kind of a weird sweetness to it. Not weird, like sweetness to it that I wasn't expecting. That's good. All right, are you ready to try? So I don't know, do you want to like try the pie, or do you want, I think like the handheld might be better. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it works for me.
All right, let's do it. Handheld, we got a little handheld with a little tzatziki on there. I can't wait to try this, it's been sitting here. You can hear that crunch. I'm gonna try some of the beer. That made the beer seem even more tart, actually. That was good. And actually, good cut through. It was like the Spanakopita cut the bitterness, and the bitterness cut the richness of the Spanakopita. That was great.
Yeah, it's actually, the beer is like really refreshing
Yeah.
after having a bite of that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the tzatziki is nice and refreshing for that as well. Kind of takes it to a whole nother level with the
Totally.
beer.
I was actually kind of expecting a wine, so this was actually a nice surprise.
Well, I mean, wine gets more credit when it comes to food
Yeah.
pairings, but beer is really fun to pair with food as well. So, love to have us on here. So,
Totally. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
of course, thank you so much for having me. This was delicious.
It was my pleasure. Show us your take on this meal. I would love to see your Wild Green Spanakopita. Take a photo, upload it to social media, and tag us at Chef Heidi Fink and at CHEK Media. I'm Chef Heidi Fink. The more you learn, the better it tastes. I'm gonna eat more. I'm so excited to be eating this Spanakopita. It's something I only make for special occasions, so it's like nice to have a big load of it right now.
Everyone here was mentioning Spanakopita today. They're saying it was really good. So, yeah, it's awesome. When I took that first bite, it was just exploded, so crispy.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it.